As soon as I open it, roaches. To where when I walked in the house,
did you scream?
You don't know my life, brother.
Welcome back to Econix Talks, guys.
When I pop up, everybody gonna be like, man, overnight success.
Lifestyle topics, entrepreneurship, and investing.
Are you serious about this? Because if you are, then I'm willing to back the business.
We want to inform you, educate you, and empower you so that you can maximize your life. Let's get started. Welcome back to another episode of Econix Talks, guys. Today, I have a good friend of mine. His name is Antoine Wade. He is a lawyer out of DC. He is also a certified National Basketball Players Association agent. So he is certified with the NBPA. So I have him here today to talk about trademarking. This is my guy. He is bomb.com. So if you need something to trademark, definitely go see him. But today's episode, we definitely want to iron out, what trademarking is, when should someone use it, and the whole nine. But first, I want to go ahead and hand it over to Wade, my boy, and just want to just talk about your story, man. So just tell me a little bit about growing up. Were you from PG County?
Yeah, man, I'm from all around the DMV, honestly, man. But I appreciate you for having me on, Josh. We go back to Morehouse College and being Bonner Scholars. We was on service scholarship. And so it's a pleasure to be here, man. And, you're doing some great things.
Appreciate it.
But yeah, I'm Antoine Wade, licensed attorney, originally from Prince George's County, Maryland. Spent time in DC, spent time in PG County, all around the DMV, man. So I'm not really geographical when it comes to DMV because I've been all around besides Virginia. But I'm a licensed attorney, licensed in DC right now. I'm currently residing in Atlanta, Georgia. And as Josh mentioned, I'm also a licensed NBA agent. So I can also represent professional basketball players. Did my undergrad at Morehouse College, graduated in 2013. And then I took a year off after that to get some work experience at a law firm. And then I decided that I was going to prepare for law school and take the LSAT. Blessed to have the opportunity to go to North Carolina Central, which is also HBCU. So I did the HBCU thing back to back, Morehouse, and then I went to Durham and went to North Carolina Central, got my JD there. And that's where I kind of got exposed to what I do now, which is trademark law, copyright law, contracts law. And I also do a little bit of entertainment, which is, I've been fortunate enough to have some exposure and build a solid foundation in that area as well.
That's dope, man. That's dope. Let me ask you a question. So was the how was law school different from Morehouse? Was it how big of a difference was it?
Man, it was super different. It was an adjustment, a crazy adjustment that I had to make because I'm the type of person that's like, and you know this, Josh, like I'm a sociable guy. Mm-hmm. At Morehouse, I was able to socialize, have fun, and go out and participate in all these different activities and parties and stuff like that. But I was also able to get my work done. So I wasn't really big on, getting a lot of sleep. 5-6 hours was enough for me. Mm-hmm. But when I transitioned into law school, it was a different ball game. So I took that same blueprint that I was able to get away with at Morehouse, and then I went to law school with that same blueprint, and I got smacked in the face. And I'm like, man, I got to make an adjustment. And so I always, now when young kids reach out to me, or not even kids, but adults that reach out to me and they, or I would say more specifically, someone who's graduating from college, mm-hmm. The idea is once we graduate from college, let's jump right into law school. Yep. And I tell them, I say, don't feel like you got to rush the law school process. It's okay to take a year off, 2 years off, 3 years off, 4 years off, get that work experience, and then transition into law school, because like I mentioned, I was 22 my first year in law school, so I'm still young.
You still developing that discipline.
Yeah, I'm developing discipline. This is not regular school. This is professional school. So when I go to law school, I'm in the class and just in a building with people who are 30, 30 plus years old. A lot of those people are working on their second career. Like you got police officers that done 15 plus years in the force, and now they transitioning into practicing law. You got 40-year-old, 50-year-old people that's in law school, and here I am, this young 22-year-old kid trying to keep up with people that have this real life experience. Mm-hmm. And so the first year for me was tough. I got smacked in the face, man, but I had to do a little bit of adjusting to make it through.
If you don't mind me asking, what was the biggest adjustment you had to make?
Getting rid of procrastination.
And how'd you fight that?
I fought it when I saw the midterm grades and these, my grades at the end of the first semester. I knew what I was doing. I mean, we all know that we procrastinate. If we procrastinate, you're pretty much aware of the issue. So I knew what I was doing and what was contributing to my grades dropping. So it was procrastination. And it was almost a reality check for me. That's how I was able to fight it. It wasn't something that I put in place at the time. It was like, I gotta move this around. I gotta set my schedule up this way. It was more so a reality check that I worked so hard to get to this point, and now I'm at risk of failing out of law school my first semester and letting my family down. So when I looked at those circumstances, I was like, man, I can't go out like that. I gotta make some adjustments so that I can actually finish this thing up.
Yeah, man. And so, I mean, it's crazy. I wanted to go to law school. I took the LSAT. I did poorly on it. I didn't study. Like I was gung-ho about law school. And then I realized you got to read a lot and you got to write a lot. And I was like, I might have to pass.
Yeah, a lot of analytical thinking, a lot of outside the box thinking. I think everybody, if you're financially able to and have the mental fortitude, I think law school is for everybody, man. I don't think it's something that's specific to people who just want to be attorneys. I feel like law school is beneficial to everybody if you're willing to go through that process.
Right. Now that's real. And I feel like you learn a lot. I'm not a lawyer by any means, but I feel like you learn a different way of thinking. Because I know a lot of lawyers and y'all definitely think law first. How is this written? How is this language? That's how your brain
right.
works. It's because you train to look at, the language or English language and say, is this black and white? Because in law, people don't realize the reason why a lot of these people get off with, criminal charges or that is because even though you did it wrong, you still have to prove without a reasonable doubt. Like you got to actually have proof. And even when you're talking about contracts and business contracts, you have to be extremely specific. So, for example, because I've had some issues with poorly written contracts and dealing with business people. When you deal with a poorly written contract, then you leave yourself open to being sued. You leave yourself open to just a lot of different legalities and legal issues that you can avoid if your contract is tight. So, right. Dealing with business and dealing with that, definitely learn on some contract stuff, man. It could definitely mess you up if you don't have the right contract in place. Have you had any experiences with, I know you talked about contract law, but what is your advice on that?
My advice on contract law?
Yeah, like just contracts in general, with dealing with, contracts and getting things drafted up, operating agreements. What's your advice on, someone trying to get that done, and when do they need to have a contract?
First of all, I would suggest that you go through an attorney for sure. Even if you don't draft the contract yourself, right? Have an agreement, even if it's a template that you get online or through like some third-party company. Have an agreement in place, but then take that agreement to an attorney, and that attorney is going to look at that contract to determine, okay, I see what's written here in black and white, but what provisions or what language isn't here that's going to work in the best interest of my client, you know, and also make sure you take it to the right attorney. You don't want to go to a criminal law attorney or an attorney that practices in family law and then had them look over operating agreement. Make sure you choose the right attorney that specializes within that particular area and that have expertise in that area so they can give you the best advice possible.
You know, I think a lot of people, they don't understand that lawyers don't do everything. You know, I think because you're a lawyer, like you just know all the answers. That's not how this works. Just like with any profession, you know, you have different jobs. You know, you have different types of doctors. You have a pediatrician. You have all these other different people who work with elderly people. So it's the same thing with a lawyer. You want to make sure you find the right person, because you could do somebody that does it is a criminal defense lawyer. They don't know nothing about contracts. They don't do it every day.
No.
Yeah. So that's what, and a lot of lawyers are looked at as being expensive, so do you have any expertise or advice on how that works, for people who may be apprehensive to reach out to a lawyer because immediately they're like, I can't afford one?
Right. So what I can say is, especially for business attorneys, when we have people that reach out to us, they're reaching out to us because they're in business. They have a company, they want to go into entrepreneurship, they're trying to develop some type of personal brand or, a product or service based brand. And my advice is always, you gotta chalk that business expense up. This is the game, and if you're not trying to play the game, there's a right way to play the game, and then there's a wrong way to play the game. And if you jump into this entrepreneurial, this world or the marketplace, and you got competitors, mm-hmm. you gotta play the game. Business is a battlefield. You gotta go into business well equipped. If we were to go to war, we was to get deployed into a war zone, they're not gonna send us out there with no weapons. We'll get killed. That's an easy way to get killed. Mm-hmm. Going to war, you're going to business with weapons. So if you're going into business, one of your weapons is your attorney. One of your weapons is your accountant. Mm-hmm. That's how you got to look at it. Don't really look at it, oh, it's too expensive. Look at it as, this is what I got to do, because it's all about playing the game the right way. And then with attorneys, man, it can be expensive, right? Or your accountant can be expensive, or anybody that you hire to be on your team, it can be expensive, but it's going to cost you more down the line if you don't have those people in place.
Right.
So an attorney may cost you, let's just say a contract review may cost you $1,000, depending on the length of that contract, right? Mm-hmm. That $1,000, if you don't get that attorney, can cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars. If you're doing business on at a certain level, it can cost tens and 20 thousands of dollars if you don't invest into your team the right way. Yep. So I say, man, chalk it up, chalk that business expense up, and don't rush. If you don't have the money to afford an attorney, there are other opportunities or other resources that you can use, such as pro bono. You can use law school clinics. Mm-hmm. And there's always, we live in a virtual society. Google, YouTube University. And I'm an attorney, and I'm not trying to take business away from myself or from any other attorneys, but I'm just being realistic.
Yeah, that's what we need.
Just use your resources, and I drop a lot of game on my Instagram, where you can go on my Instagram and I'm literally giving away information that you can use so that you guys don't have to come out of pocket.
Because that kills a lot of small businesses, because it can be expensive, and that it can be very intimidating for people who are trying to build, because they got so many other things to focus on. But it's worth it, because like you say, you leave yourself open to so many different legal issues. If you don't know how to protect your business, then you don't need to be in business. If you aren't thinking, how can I protect this asset? How can I protect this investment? That's what lawyers do. Lawyers protect you. That's what they're supposed to do. So, when they're doing their job, like, they protect you from things that you don't see, the hidden or the language that may not be as clear in the contract that means something that you don't know. That's what lawyers find. That's what they catch. And they say, you know what? Let's make an amendment to that contract because we don't like that. That's the beauty of having someone on your team to say, like, yeah, we should go for that. We should go for a little bit more money on this with this operating agreement, because lawyers know all of that. They deal with them every day.
Yeah. And then you got to do a little bit of internal questioning. You got to ask yourself, what am I in this for? Because everybody don't want to play the game the same way. Right? You got some people that go into business because, oh, it's a hobby. It's a some type of escape from the 9 to 5, where it's just a hobby. It's just a passion. It's something that they just enjoy doing. They may not want to play the game to the level of, a Oprah Winfrey or a Tyler Perry or Microsoft or Apple. They may just want to just do their thing. You know what I'm saying? But if you're somebody who is in business and you trying to make money, you want to hire people, you want to go into partnerships, you want to look for investors, you gotta have an attorney in place. Your attorney and your accountant are your two best friends. If you plan on playing the game of business on that level.
That's real, man. I want to shift and talk about you being a certified MBA agent. So, I have no idea what that process looks like. I know a lot of things just changed with the law, with college students being able to get paid. And so that leaves an entire market out there for all kinds of people. So tell me a little bit how you thought about it, the process, was it difficult? Was it long? I want to talk about that.
All right, man. So I like to touch on how I even was interested. And
that's what I want to know.
This goes all into how I even got into law school. So when I was growing up, I played sports I played football my whole life. I started playing football at the age of 9. And so all the way up until Morehouse, I was actually supposed to play at Morehouse, but I didn't because I came to
scholarship.
I was on scholarship. Football program wasn't offering no scholarship. I would have had to walk on. But that kind of did something to me when I realized, and I actually realized it before Morehouse. I realized my junior year in high school that I wasn't going to go pro. And that was like the toughest thing for me, because I went to a school that was nationally recognized for its athletic program. I went to the high school that I graduated from because of the football program. Like, you could not tell me that I wasn't going to play Division I football. Like, you couldn't tell me that. We was ranked 4 nationally in the country. We played on ESPN twice a year. So that's the type of environment that I come from.
Right.
So my junior year, I knew that I didn't have the Division I scholarships, right? And so I was doing some research. I always wanted to go to law school because that was just something that not my parents put on me. I'm a first generation college student, so just graduating from college was good enough for my family. But I told myself, you know what, when I was around 12, 13 years old, I was like, you know what, I want to be a lawyer. Fast forward to my junior year in high school, when I realized that I wasn't going to go pro, I was like, you know what, let me start doing some research into this law school thing. But I also want to be a sports agent. I don't want to completely abandon sports.
Right.
So let me look into this sports agent thing first. That's what I did, actually. I looked into the sports agent thing. Law school wasn't really on the table for me at that time.
Right.
So I started, just watching ESPN, Googling people. And at the time, there was a guy named Drew Rosenhaus. He's actually he's not in Tampa, he's based in Miami, but he's down there in Florida. And at the time, he was representing Terrell Owens. Like, these are guys that I look up to, playing from football at an early age. Like, these are icons, right? So Terrell Owens, he's representing Chad Ochocinco, representing Sean Taylor. Like, these are my big, like, people I look up to.
Yeah.
I'm like, who is this guy? He a sports agent and he representing these type of players. So I Googled him.
Mm-hmm.
And when I looked into his background, he had a law degree. I was like, oh man, that's he got a law degree. Now, imagine, when I was younger, I always said, I want to go to law school.
Right.
So I'm like, oh, hold on now. So now I started getting curious.
Mm-hmm.
So then I started looking up other agents. And when I looked at the top agents, they all had law degrees.
Yep.
So I was like, oh man, if I want to represent players like the players that I look up to, I need to go to law school. If I want to compete on that level, I got to go to law school. I didn't go to law school because I wanted to practice criminal law. I went to law school because I felt as though for me to be on the level of a Drew Rosenhaus and for me to represent the top athletes in the game, I got to have that law degree. Now, what I want people to know is you don't have to go to law school. If you want to become a sports agent, you don't have to go to law school. But that was just my mindset. I didn't have somebody tell me.
They just changed the rule, the Rich Paul rule. They just changed it to allow people that didn't have college degrees to be able to, right. So you had to have something, right, until Rich Paul.
Yeah, I didn't have like an older mentor or somebody to tell me, oh, you don't have to go to law school to become a sports agent. I didn't look.
I still think it's an easier way to do it, though.
Yeah, I did it the way that I thought that I had to do it. And so that's how I got into, well, that's not how I got into law school. That's what made me want to really pull the trigger on law school, because I'm like, man, I could be a top sports agent with a law degree.
Yeah. Yeah. And you always have to fall back on.
Yeah. And that was my story of how I pulled the trigger on law school and how being a sports agent, wanting to be a sports agent, influenced that decision. Yeah. Now, the process of becoming an agent, it was, to me, right, it was pretty simple. I mean, of course, I studied for it, but you talking to a guy that studied and took the bar exam,
right?
So if you throw an exam in front of me, I'm gonna knock it out. I'm coming from 200 multiple choice questions on a bar exam and 10 essays on a bar exam to 50 questions multiple choice. Open notes. It's an open book exam for the NBA agent exam. So I'm like, man, that was a cakewalk for me.
Yeah, that's dope.
All I had to do was study. And once I study, I'm gonna retain that information. I'm gonna blow it out the water. Now, and the thing is, with the NBA agents exam, they give you 50 questions. And if my memory serves me correctly, you gotta score super high. You can't miss. I think you gotta score. You got to get at least 46 questions right out of 50.
Ooh,
so it ain't no room for error.
Yeah.
So you got to study. You got to take good notes. Make sure your the notes that you're going to use for the open book exam is on point, because you don't want to be flipping through stuff trying to find the answers to questions. You want to kind of already know and be prepared for what's going on, and you want to know where to look for your answer. But yeah, you got to get at least 46 out of 50 questions right. And I had to go to New York for that. This is pre-pandemic.
Okay.
I had to go to New York for the exam.
Wow. I'm assuming NBA is headquartered in New York, but they didn't have like I mean, I guess a lot of exams you could take anywhere.
Right. So yeah, this was pre-virtual society. Now we straight virtual. So now, they transition into doing the virtual exam, but this was before that. So you talking about, man, people coming from all over the country, California, Texas, all over the place to New York to become a registered agent. And I became officially received my license in February of 2020. This is literally right before the pandemic.
Wow.
Like before the pandemic became
The
a
pandemic.
national thing in probably like the second week of March.
Mm-hmm.
I got my certification February 1st,
Wow.
2020.
Yeah, you got it right before the shutdown.
Right before.
Right before the shutdown. That's dope, man. And so how has your experience been since you've gotten it?
Oh man, it's been I wouldn't say it's been rough, but it's just trying to figure out the game.
Right.
Whatever industry that you in, you gotta figure it out. You gotta check what the landscape looking like. And for me, I'm not a guy that's trying to rush or jump into things. So what I've been doing, I haven't signed any players yet. Now I do have a couple of guys that I'm interested in signing. But what's been most important to me, because again, the pandemic set us back. So I wasn't able to travel and go to different events and stuff like that because we was on a lockdown.
Mm-hmm.
So I was using that time to build relationships with people,
Okay.
create a network around myself, know who's who in this industry, get connected with the right people, because it's a game of knowing somebody. It's hard. Entertainment in general, sports and entertainment, you're not going to go online and go on Indeed and
Yeah.
apply for a position. It's not like that. You gotta get out there, talk to people, connect with people, build relationships. So right now, I just been building the right relationships with people, man. So when it's time for me to sign, my first guy, it's gonna be something major.
That's
You know,
dope, man. That's dope. It's crazy because I don't know. Now I do, but I didn't know any sports agents, but I do now. I'm like, oh, yo, Wade's a sports. It's dope, man. It's definitely something that's a very unique skill set and a unique business to be in. But I feel like, like Rob Pelinka is an agent that I think about first. I'm a Laker fan. It comes to mind.
right?
Rob Pelinka, I'm like, all right, he started out as an agent. He, kind of built his way up, and then he became a freaking GM.
But
Or yeah,
those are my guys. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Not that I have like personal relationships with them.
Right.
I'm a guy, I like to make people my mentors, even if they don't know who I am. But
Mhm.
see, Rob, you go into his background, his educational background, he got a law degree.
Got a law degree.
You know what I'm
Yep.
saying?
Yep.
He got
Adam Silver. Adam Silver has a law degree.
Silver.
David Stern, law degree.
David Stern. Leon Rose, who's now the president of the New York Knicks, he has a law degree. So these guys have practiced as attorneys, then made the transition to becoming agents, and now these guys hold front office positions for NBA organizations.
Right. That's dope, man. So I want to start asking you about the topic of today, which is trademarking. So my first question, well, how did you get into trademarking? How did you start to get into trademarking law? I know you said you had some experience over there, but you actually do trademark law. So what drew you to trademarking things and that type of law?
Yeah, man. So my situation is a little bit like unorthodox. Again, I didn't come from a family, went to law school, and I didn't have friends. Well, that's a lie, because I went to Morehouse.
Yeah.
But even when I was at Morehouse, there wasn't nobody was talking about like the different areas of law.
Mm-hmm.
It was really more so like criminal law and business law, but nothing specific. And so when I went to law school, I actually wanted to be criminal defense.
Mm-hmm.
I interned my first summer after my first year, I interned at the U.S. Attorney's Office in D.C. in the homicide division. And anybody know, man, DC is a wild place. You talking about homicides and murders and all this type of stuff, man. High profile cases that I had the opportunity to sit in on. And during that summer, I was like, man, I don't know if this is something that I want to do, man.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man.
I feel like that's a lot of heaviness every day.
You got to be able to separate that professional life from your personal life. And for me, man, being a young Black male from the DC area, it's like I'm seeing, brothers up there that's my age, autopsy pictures and, the families of the victims of the deceased, they're in these court proceedings and it's really emotional. And to see that prosecutors and some defense attorneys be so numb to this and treating it as if it's just another case. They're not treating it as, yo, this is somebody that just really lost their life, or the person that we're prosecuting, whether he's guilty or innocent, he's facing life in prison. And they're just like going through the motions because you know what? After they finish handling this case, they got other cases that they have to worry about. So it's really no chance for them to get emotionally attached to the case. But for me, I'm like, man, I don't know if I can do this on an everyday basis.
Yeah,
man.
that's heavy, man.
I don't have the ability to put somebody in prison that could possibly be innocent, right? And I don't have the capability to defend somebody that could possibly be guilty. Right. And keep them out of prison. I didn't want that on my hands. So I was like, man, you know what? I'm gonna do the business thing. We adversaries, of course, because it's opposing sides, but at the end of the day, when you in business, we negotiate. So
ain't nobody losing their life though.
Yeah, nobody's
dying here.
We at the negotiation table, we trying to find the best possible solution so that both sides can walk away with a favorable outcome. Mm-hmm. So how I get in the trade market, you probably know this. I don't know if you know this, but I started a clothing brand going into my 3rd year of law school.
Okay. I think I remember that.
I was specializing in like belts.
I do remember that. Yeah. I remember that. Yeah.
And so my best friend, Jordan Jackson, man, shout out to Jordan, man. He's like, man, I wish I could talk about Jordan, man. But
Jordan's on. Yeah, I like Jordan's dope cat.
When we talking about the greats, fashion designers,
yeah.
And I don't want to disrespect anybody, but when we talking about the Virgils,
yep,
the Jerry Lorenzos, man, expect to hear Jordan in the next couple of years, and I promise that.
Right.
So my best friend, man, I known Jordan. We went to high school together. He designed a logo for me. Now I came up with the idea that because my birthday is October 21st, 10/21, and so I was thinking of a way to make the 10/21 look cool, because I didn't like the way it was written out numerically. I'm like, the 1021, that just don't look cool. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if this was God. Something sat in my spirit and was just like Roman numeral. I was like, okay. So I Googled what 1021, 1021 would look like in Roman numeral. I was like, oh man, that's tough. Mm-hmm. I like this. So I showed Jordan, and he was just like, I'm a designer. No, this is what happened, right? My stepdad, and this, bro, my story is crazy. I know it sounds like I'm going off.
No, you good.
It all ties together, right? So my stepdad, he's really into like designer clothes. And one of his favorite designer belts is Hermes. An Hermes belt probably costs about $1,300, $1,400. Mm-hmm. And he just closed on a deal. My stepfather's in sales. So he just closed a deal and he was going to get some, good amount of money was going to come in. And so he wanted to celebrate. And he told my mother, and I'm probably getting a little bit too personal, man, but I'm a transparent type of dude.
Nah, you good, bro.
He was like, yeah, I'm about to buy this Hermes belt. And my mother was like, no, you ain't. You ain't about to do that. He was like, we could use that money to go somewhere else. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I asked my mother, I said, how much does that Hermes belt cost that he want? Like, how much is it? She's like, them belts can go from $1,300, $1,400, $1,500.
Crazy.
So I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I'm like, so when she say that, first thing I thought was, I'm gonna put my logo on a belt. So even before that, right, I had Jordan designed the logo for me. Mm-hmm. It was like a gold type of logo. And so when my stepdad and my mother told me how much those Hermes belts would cost, I said, you know what? I could put my logo, the logo that Jordan just designed for me, I'm gonna put that on a belt. And I'm not even going to charge $1,500 for it. I'm gonna charge like $220, $250 for it. So fast forward, I have a clothing brand now. I go back to law school to finish up my last year. And one of my colleagues, one of my friends, Rachel Cash, she's also an attorney. She's from the Michigan area. Mm-hmm. And I was sharing with her my logo and what I had planned for the clothing brand, because she was also like business oriented. She was in law school, but she was somebody that I can go to bounce business ideas off of. Right. So I showed her the logo and she said, you need to trademark that. So I was like, and I know at this time, you hear about trademarks and stuff, but you don't know like the process.
Right. Because you ain't never been through it.
I never been through it. And in the law school that I was at, they were more so like a public interest type of law school. So their main focus was on public defense, like public defenders, prosecution, family law type of things. It wasn't like a business-based type of law school. So when she told me trademark it, I was like, okay, but how do I do that? Right. She was like, you know what? She's like, you got your laptop? I'm like, yeah. She was like, okay, we're gonna do the application now. So I'm like, okay. So we going through the process. She teaching me, this is what this means. This is what you need to do. You need to upload this. So I'm like, okay, cool. And I'm like, she was like, okay, now you finish. Now you just gotta wait to see what they say. So I'm like, okay, cool. Like, all right, trademark. So I'm registering for class. I gotta finish registering for class for my last year. Mm-hmm. So I'm scrolling. You know how it is when you
you just
click board. Yeah. So I'm going through there and I see a class and it's called Trademark Law Clinic.
Oh, wow.
So I'm like, hold on now. Rachel just showed me how to do this. Mm-hmm. And my school offers a clinic. A clinic allows you, it's a pro bono service. Mm-hmm. So it's for people who don't have enough money to pay an attorney out of pocket. So they go to a law school clinic to help them with the service. Okay. So when I saw the trademark law clinic was available, I was like, she just put me on game on how to do this. I said, oh, I'm gonna register for this. Let me see what this is about. I knew it was deeper than just the application process. Mm-hmm. Man, I signed up for it. And the crazy thing about it, so we all got assigned cases. We got assigned clients. It was probably about 10 of us in the class. And my professor, she would ask questions to the class. And I'll be the one guy in the class that like knew the answers because I just went through the process. Right. And I would ask questions, even if I didn't know the answer to something, I would ask questions that would let her know that I knew what I was talking about. You know how you ask a question and people like, oh, he knows something based on that question. Right. Because you have to know something to ask that. Yeah. So it was like, oh, okay. So I noticed that and I was like, man, this is this thing is actually coming natural to me. So another thing that kind of really it showed me that I could take this to the next level. So he was assigned cases. She assigned us a client. I was able to actually finish the process and get my client a registration.
Oh, wow.
I was the only person in my class to get a registration for a client.
Wow.
Now, it's not to say that I was, far more advanced in my knowledge than anybody else. I just think that the case that I picked up, it was further along in the process.
Right.
But there was some work that needed to be done. So I went through the process. I got the client's trademark registered. And I was like, yo, I like this. I like this. So automatically I'm thinking, I got my business, my clothing brand that I just started. I just handled a client's case. I think she had like a clothing brand or something like that. And then I'm thinking AUC. I'm thinking Morehouse, Spelman, Clark, Atlanta. I'm like, people that I went to school with, they got businesses. People in my family, they got businesses or want to start businesses, right?
Right.
I'm like, this could be my service to my people.
Right. There we go.
This is what I'm doing. I'm doing the trademark thing. I'm gonna help people protect their brands.
There we go.
And then from that point on, man, I didn't look back, man. So that's how
you got. That's dope. That's dope. Things like that. That's like fate, man. It's like fate. It's just, when people say, a lot of younger people don't understand when, guys like us, I just turned 30, I'm 30, but we'll say something like, you'll figure it out. They don't get it. It doesn't click yet.
Yeah.
That's what I mean when, when I say you'll figure it out, like you'll run across something that might pique your interest, or you might pick up a book and it's just like, oh, well, I didn't know I like this. You might just pique your interest. And next thing you know, you open it up and it's just a big world of just things you just like, whoa, like, I love this. This is it. And it's like eureka, like the light bulb goes off and immediately you go for it.
Yeah, man. But to add to that, in order to get that type of like that revelation, you got to put in the work. And that's the most cliche thing. I don't really like saying that, but it's so real, man. You gotta put in the work, man. Your value is tied to the work that you'll put in.
Yeah, that's real, man. I have a couple of questions for you about trademarking specifically. I just want to run those by you just so that people can get a deeper understanding of, what the process looks like, what it entails. So my first question is, when should someone consider trademark protection?
As soon as possible. Like, it's no golden time frame, or, it's not like, hey, when's the perfect time? The perfect time is now.
Right.
If you got a logo, if you got a brand name, if you have a brand name that you're not even using at this time, you can still protect it. As long as you have something that you want to use or that you are using, it can be protected at any time. Or let's just say you can file an application for it at any time. So I would say don't wait, because how many people are on this? How many people in the world, Josh? Is what, like 7 billion?
And keep climbing.
And the trademark process isn't just closed off to U.S. residents. People in China, people in France, all over the country.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they want U.S. trademarks. They want to do business here.
Wow.
So, and people are applying for trademarks every day. So you don't want to put yourself at risk at losing those trademark rights to somebody who don't even live in the country. Right. So I say the best time is now.
I got you. What is trademark clearance?
Trademark clearance it's another way of saying it's a conflicts check, right? So the most important part of the trademark process, and I tell prospective clients this all the time when I do consultations, the most important part of the trademark process is not the application. It's the work that goes into the process before we even file it. And the clearance process is just a process of where you do a comprehensive search. So you do research to find out, okay, what's in this trademark database that can be a potential conflict or potential obstacle from me getting a trademark registration. That's, you can do a trademark search on the USPTO's public database. You can do Google searches. You can do social media searches. Anywhere where you can find or do a search or some type of background research on a business, right?
Mm-hmm.
You want to use those resources to find out, okay, what is the landscape like? Who is out here that can possibly prevent me from getting a trademark registration? Okay. And that's the most important part. The research, so that you are informed of what's out there, because the last thing you want to do is spend a whole bunch of money unnecessarily. If it's something out there that is a potential conflict or like a dead giveaway, like it ain't no way you can get this trademark registered, it doesn't make sense to spend $1,500, $2,000 if it doesn't even make sense to file the application in the first place.
Right, because you just throwing away money.
Right, so the trademark clearance, to me, in my opinion, is the most important part of the trademark process. That's before you even get to filling out and submitting the application.
Okay, thank you. And how long is the registration process?
So pre-pandemic, and I get this question all the time, nobody really knows, right? It's like whatever the trademark office is, whatever their workload look like, however they, they human beings, so it's not like a automated system that's controlling this stuff. This is like real life people. And so pre-pandemic, when you would submit an application, the typical wait time will be, they'll say 3 months before your application is assigned to be reviewed by an examining attorney.
3 months.
3 months after you submit it.
Wow.
There's a waiting period before it gets assigned for review. That's pre-pandemic. Post-pandemic, it's 7 months. Wow. Right?
Wow.
First, it was like 6 months during the pandemic. And I had clients that it's been 7 months.
Right.
And we're just talking about, look, I put my application in. Now I gotta wait for it to be reviewed. That takes, in this society, because the federal government in general has just been behind. And
they've been, since the pandemic, a lot of things.
Pandemic, right? And it sounds a little played out, because it's like, how long are y'all gonna keep using the pandemic as an excuse? But the federal government is just, in terms of like paperwork and workload, they've been backed up. And so what typically would have been 3 months is now about 6 to 7 months.
It's crazy, man.
And so now we're talking about after that examination period, right? To receive an actual registration, if it goes through the process of clearance and no conflicts is found, which is about 6 to 7 months. If you're going to get a registration, it could take about a year and some change. So once you go through the process, right, and they determine that, okay, this application is cleared for a trademark registration, it then takes 12 weeks for your registration to get into your possession.
Wow. It's a lengthy process.
Yeah. So once you find out, like, okay, we're good to go, now they'll send you an email saying, okay, barring any extraordinary circumstances or unusual circumstances, this application will be approved for registration, but give us 12 weeks,
Okay. So you get like a contingent pre-approval, essentially.
Yeah, pre-approval.
Okay.
The process, man, it take about a year and a half, year and some change.
Wow. I didn't know it was that long.
Yeah.
And I know you already touched on this, but I still want to ask, how likely is something to get trademarked? I know we talked a lot about pre-clearancing but how likely is something to get trademarked? What's something, can you give me an example of a case that you had that you can talk about where something didn't get trademarked and why?
Okay, yeah, for sure. So what I want people to realize is that majority of trademark applications get refused for trademark registration. I want to say it's over about 60 something percent of trademark applications that fail to get a registration. Now, of course, there's so many different things that go into that. In my opinion, I think it's because most people go through a trademark process without doing a clearance search. They think it's just as simple as, hey, I searched something, nothing popped up. Oh, let me go ahead and submit an application. That plays, I think that's a big number of those applications go into that 60%.
Okay, so just lack of knowledge.
Lack of knowledge, lack of not having that legal expert to advise them on what makes sense. There have been situations where I did not get a registration. And it's, not because of, and again, the process, trademark process is not black and white. It's a subjective process. It's not an object. It's supposed to be objective, but reality is not objective because each attorney, they're going to look at an application a different way. How I may see an issue, a trademark attorney may not see it that way.
Right.
I've had an application get rejected recently. And of course, when you get rejected, it's not the end all be all. You still have an opportunity to present arguments on behalf of that application to explain why the refusal should be lifted. Mm-hmm. So a lot of clients that I deal with, if they do get a rejection, right? We get something what you call a likelihood of confusion. That's like your most popular, like they call them office action. So you'll get an office action from the attorney pretty much outlining why and explaining why the trademark was rejected. And the most popular one is likelihood of confusion, which means your application is likely to be confused with this application that's already submitted for approval, or it's already an application that's probably already registered.
Oh, wow. Okay. That makes sense.
And I've seen some crazy situations where I felt as though, I had a client that we got a trademark for, and I saw another application that I believed was in confusion with my clients. And then the trademark office said, no, they created some like crazy legal argument that I was unaware of.
Wow.
So it's just like, and that's why they call it it's a legal practice, because we're constantly practicing and learning something new, what I'm saying? Each time, each case is different. Mm-hmm. You may receive like the same issues, but like each circumstance is different.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
How long does a federal trademark registration last?
So after you get your registration, you're pretty much good for 5 years. Now you have to renew along the way between the 5th and the 6th year. You got to renew that application, but your registration can last forever. Like last week, I seen a trademark application that was registered like in 1986. And they still have their registration till this day. But along the way, 5-year period, then the 10-year period, 15-year period, they had to renew. And the renewal, you have to pay a fee to renew.
Is so and obviously like the first part takes about a year, some change. How long does a renewal process really take, or is it something simple since you've already been?
Oh no, it's a simple process. They don't
They streamline that because I'm like, we're not going through this.
Okay. They separate that from like reviewing applications that's seeking to be registered.
Okay. So when should someone use the trademark symbol on whatever they have or their, apparel or whatever?
Okay. So you got two trademark symbols. You got the TM symbol and then you got the R symbol. Now, a lot of people don't know when to use which one. So the TM symbol means that you have a common law trademark. Now, a common law trademark means it's not federally registered, right? That's all. That's pretty much what that means, that you're using the trademark and you may already have a trademark application on file that's pending approval for registration, but it's just not registered, but you're active using it, right? So that TM symbol is to put the public on notice that, hey, I'm using this particular mark in my business, or I already have a trademark application that's on file.
Oh, so that's like a temporary, not temporary, but it's like, just like, all right, this is here for now until this goes through. And once it goes through, boom, now I use the R.
I'm actively using this, right?
Okay.
You can't use this because I'm actively using it. And I have an application that's on file. It's not registered, but it's currently under review from the trademark office. Okay. Now, once you get that registration, you can take the TM off, and that's when you transition to the letter R that's in the circle, which stands for registered. Okay. That's dope, man. That's a lot. That's a lot of information. That's good information. It's crazy because I've thought about, getting Econix trademarked and I never do the process. So even in this, like I'm learning constantly, man. So I want to go ahead and shift over to the Econix 10, just 10 questions I want you to answer. Just, random questions. You ready? Yeah, I'm ready, man. Let's do it. Get it. What would you title this chapter in your life? Freedom. I like that. What superpower would you have? Teleport. Man, that's a good one. I'll never be late. What would you invest in right now if money was not an issue? Real estate. Bet. If you weren't doing this, what would your other profession be? NFL. I already knew it. 5 dinner guests, dead or alive, who's coming to your table? Dead or alive. Ooh. Man, this is tough. Man, I would say my great grandfather that I never met. I would do Kobe Bryant, go Barack. It's my number 3. This ain't in no order either. I'm just throwing names out. Dead or alive, Crispus Attucks. Okay. And Harriet Tubman, because she's from Maryland. I didn't know. I didn't know that. Yeah. So shout out to Harriet. Number 6, your celebrity crush. They gonna judge me on this one. Keisha Cole. Man, ain't nothing wrong with that. Keisha fine. What is something that the average person would not know about you? I'm super family oriented and I'm super selfless. I would say most of the decisions that I make and how I move really don't have a lot to do with me per se. I make decisions. Of course, I make decisions based on, my best interest, but I also take in consideration my family. Yeah. And even my family that I don't have, the wife that I don't have yet, my children that I don't have yet. I'm like super family oriented, and everything that I'm doing now is for them. Yeah, it sounds like that's them. I get that mindset. What is your favorite productivity hack? Like, what's something that you do the key to stay super productive? Yeah. Man, I gotta throw on probably like a podcast. My favorite podcast is one of the clients we represent, Wallow and Gilly, $1 million worth of game. Like, I was just last night, I threw on a podcast they did with Tax Stone, and it was about for an hour, And, I'm sitting there laughing at the stuff, but at the same time, I'm getting some work done. So a nice podcast. I don't really do the music thing while I'm working, but if I can have like a podcast where I can kind of laugh or some type of comedy on, then, that's the best way that I can stay productive. Oh, this is actually
Got one?
That's my number 2, right? My number 1 productivity hack is working at night.
Yeah. I'm so much clearer.
Yeah. Everything is still and quiet. Man, working at night is my number 1 productivity hack.
I work so much at night, bro, because nobody's bothering you. The world's sleeping and you can get it in. You can grind.
Yep.
Number 9, name 3 most influential people in your life.
I would say mentors that don't even know that I exist. And I got so many. So it's not even like I can name them all, but people that don't even know me personally, that, I researched or I found on social media that kind of changed my perspective on things. You know what I'm saying? So I would say my mother, man, is number 1. 2 is like the mentors that don't even know that I exist. 3, man, is just like my friends, like my network.
Yeah.
Cause like I mentioned, like I got friends, bro. It's like heavy hitters. You know what I'm saying? It's like Jordan Jackson. Y'all gonna hear from him. My law school classmate, I don't want to say their names, but I mean I can say their names.
Say names. Give them some PR.
My man Reggie, man. Who's my law school classmate. Eugene was also a law school classmate of mine. Chris Hollingsworth, man, like,
shout out to Chris.
Tim Adecor, George Young, you know what I'm saying? Kadeem Palmer, Jamel Thomas, like these are my guys. So I'm a firm believer in iron sharpening iron. So if I see them doing something that's great, I'm like, hold on, man. It's always friendly competition. I can't let him outdo me.
Feel that.
I gotta come with it.
I gotta grind. I gotta work.
Yeah, that's, congratulations. You're doing some big things, but internally, I'm like, all right, man, shoot, Jordan just did that. Now I gotta go back into the lab. I gotta get something. I gotta work something, work something up myself. So those are my three major influences, man. Mom,
I appreciate that. That's dope.
Mentors that I don't know, and my friends. And I don't want people to look, man, even you know what I'm saying? I got social media for a reason, man. I see what everybody is doing, specifically from our graduating class, man. 2013, everybody in 2013, man, is like an influence to me, because I'm looking, I'm like, man, we went to school together.
It's crazy. It's like, man, these people are doing
together. We struggled together, and now like we
ran up Stone Mountain together.
We ran up Stone Mountain together. it's like knowing where we come from and seeing where everybody is now, bro. That just drives me every day, man, to get on Instagram and be like, oh, dang, so and so, they work for HBO. Oh man, that's crazy. Now I'm like, all right, man, let me get back to it. Let me. I gotta do something that's worth something.
Right. That's what's up, man. The last question: PB&J or grilled cheese?
PB&J. I will only do grilled cheese if I can add like some type of like a patty melt or bacon or something like that to it. But PB&J.
I rock with that. Yeah, I'll choose PB&J too. That's all the Econix 10, man. So what I want you to do now is I want you to tell people where they can find you, where they can contact you at, and this is your time to promote you.
Y'all can find me on all social media platforms. It's Antoine Wade ESQ. That's on Instagram, Antoine Wade ESQ. Facebook is Antoine Wade. Twitter is Antoine Wade ESQ. LinkedIn is Antoine Wade ESQ. And that's Antoine, Antoine Wade, WADE, ESQ, which is there for my title as an attorney.
Dope.
And I'm really accessible. So you can DM me, you can comment on a picture or something. I see everything. I'm on my phone all the time.
Appreciate you, man. Yo, guys, y'all check out Antoine Wade. If you guys need any trademarking done, please reach out to him. He will get you guys squared away. He doesn't do this for fun. This is for real. So, super shout out to you, my man. And that's it for today's episode, guys. And like, share, subscribe. And that's it, man. Y'all have a good one.